Right? Long-suffering is actually two words. One word is, you'll be familiar, macro, just means big or long. And then the other word is usually translated wrathed or tempered. So we put them together and we've got long-wrathed or long-tempered. It takes a long time to get to the point of wrath or of anger. It's not quick to punish or retaliate. This is what true love is, and it's the first one listed. True love is not, it is long-tempered, it's long wrath. It's a very common word in the New Testament. We see it a lot. It's used exclusively, interestingly, of being patient with people, never talking about circumstances or events. So love's patience is the ability to be inconvenienced by somebody. Patience doesn't mean just dealing with the circumstances of your life. It's actually talking about your relationships with people. Inconvenienced by somebody or taken advantage of by a person over and over again, yet never becoming upset or angry, being very slow to retaliate. Right? Patience, love that is patient, it never retaliates. You may know this, but in the Greek world, self-sacrificing love and non-avenging patience were considered weaknesses. It's actually true in a lot of societies. A noble man or a woman must be weak if they don't stand up for themselves. Aristotle, for instance, taught that it was virtuous to refuse to tolerate insult or injury. You were taught to strike back. At the slightest events, your culture said, you go after them. Vengeance was a virtue. It sounds awful familiar to a lot of American culture. Actually, very familiar to a lot of Micronesian culture. Honestly, a lot of cultures around the world. It's sort of a little bit of a false machismo, false macho. Like, yeah, somebody bumps you, you take care of it. Hey, that's actually good. You're strong. You're tough. You're going to stand up for yourself. You're not taking somebody's, bad stuff coming at you. You respond to it. It's sort of seen as a virtue, probably in a lot of cultures. The reason that vengeance and retaliation was a mark of honor in Greek time, and is, I think, very much true today, is because it's very natural. If you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. You don't have to teach kids about this. They come about it very naturally. You go out to our playground any day of the week, you're going to see it. You bump me, I'm going to bump you back. Very small kids. Your parents, you don't have to stop and tell them, hey, listen, this is what they know it very naturally. But love, God's love, according to this teaching, right? You're just reading the text, right? I'm not making this up. God's love is the exact opposite. It thinks primarily of the good of others. It doesn't think about the selfish way of how am I going to protect myself. It's more willing to be taken advantage of than to seek revenge. How hard is that? You're telling me that this kind of love is more willing to have somebody take advantage of me rather than revenge? We have the exact opposite sense culturally and humanly. It does not retaliate in anger, no matter how much he feels he's been wronged. It's willing to endure patiently time after time after time. So here we are this morning, 1 out of 15. And already God's word has hit home for me. How about for you? Husbands and wives, how patient have you been with each other? You're like, I've got every right. I mean, you should have heard what she said to me. You should have seen what he did. I've asked him to stop doing that. I mean, I've asked dozens and dozens of times. Isn't there some point when it's like just too much? Or I've asked him to do that. I just calmly have asked him over and over, would he please do that? And he just, I have every right to be frustrated. Every right to get mad. But what Paul says is a genuine love is patient. It's long-wrathed. Dads and moms, how about with your kids? I'm not saying withhold discipline at all. I think we should discipline and correct soon. But is your discipline done with loving patience? Hey, kids, brothers and sisters, you know when your sister's just bugging you and will not stop? Anybody have any sisters that did that? Hey, listen, kids, listen. Hey, you guys are in training right now. I mean, don't think that, you can be totally impatient with your brother or with your sister, and then somehow miraculously, when you get older, you're going to change and you're going to start not being patient with your spouse. I'm telling you guys, you are training. In fact, your responses to your brother and your sister and the other people in your life that you easily get frustrated with, your response to them is maybe more important later because you are training your soul and you're training your reactions and you're training yourself in ways that's going to be very difficult to change later on. There's a whole bunch of, older people in here, parents that are like, man, it is so hard to change that right now. I wish I'd figured this out a little bit earlier when my reactions were still forming. Man, kids, this is not unimportant. You're not off the hook here. This is important for you. You are training how you're going to respond to people later on in your life. So what about at work? When people frustrate you? How about that neighbor that's always doing something? It just seems like they're trying to bug you. Or how about an enemy? Someone who really doesn't like you. Maybe they genuinely are out to get you. I almost hate to bring it up, except Jesus is so clear about it, but I'm always amazed by Matthew 5:39. It says, when you're slapped on the right cheek, turn the left. Wow, who does that? Boy, I tell you, that is long-wrathed. That is long-suffering.